Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. I wonder who's next? Neji asked, looking at the large bed seeing the names coming up. Guess I'm next. Sasuke said. Be careful Sasuke, this guy is really strong, he has a Kekkei Genkai as you do, but he can control and create crystals with it. Naruto warned. I'll take that into consideration. Sasuke said. With Sound's team. Looks like your challenger awaits Kageyaki, Kage said with a smirk. And so it does. Kageyaki said. I'll make this a quick match, so no time is wasted upon my true opponent. Kageyaki said, referring to Naruto. In the arena. As both Sasuke and Kageyaki walked in the arena, memories of the end of the second phase of the Chunin exams popped up in Sasuke's mind. Flashback begins. Murasaki no. Sasuke said, out of confusion. I thought the bloodline died out hundreds of years ago along with the Keshos. Sasuke said. After the bloodline wars Sasuke, many great clans were believed to have gone extinct. Some of them were even a misconception to have been killed off, but truthfully, they went into hiding. It looks like you, Naruto, Sakura, have found a member of that clan. Kakashi explained, looking at his other two students who were full of dirt just after completing the second phase. Yeah, he was really strong and almost killed Sakura-chan. His bloodline was so powerful, I thought it would be like Sasuke's. Naruto said. So, what is this Murasaki no? Sasuke asked. From what I and Naruto-kun saw, he could create crystals from the ground and control them with his eyes and hands with his fingers. We could barely get close to him. He was more than just Genin level, he had to be close to a Junin. Sakura replied. As far as I heard he passed the second phase, so it won't be long before he'll return to battle. Kakashi explained. And after hearing about the Kesho's anger against the Namakazes, it is most likely Naruto you are the intended target he's after the most. Which reminds me, how were you Kopi? I've heard you used it for the first time in battle, but you were knocked out by the power also before you could use it properly. Kakashi said. I used it to protect Sakura-chan, but, Naruto said, feeling guilty, he couldn't protect his girlfriend from Kageyaki. All I did was knock myself out. Naruto said. I know. Having a bloodline right away doesn't mean you know how to control it right away also. So, I think I could help you with that. Kakashi said, looking at Sakura. You don't look happy either. Kakashi said. It's just, ever since we graduated both Naruto-kun and Sasuke have been doing all the fighting. All I ever did was stand on the sidelines and never do a thing. Chakra control is all I'm good at. Sakura said, giving a sad tone to her mentor. I understand. It is true your chakra control is better than most genins at your age, even for women who are born with the worst chakra control. But what good is all of that when you barely can even fight? Kakashi said. But I'm sure you and your mother could help on that, even though I know a few good scrolls that could help with your taijutsu. Kakashi said. And as for Sasuke, well, I'm sure he knows what to do. Kakashi said. What do you mean Kakashi-sensei? Naruto asked. That'll have to be something Naruto you have to find out in the third phase. Kakashi replied. For now, rest, and soon you three will be ready enough for the third phase, we have 1 month so please take it easy. Kakashi said, before leaving. Flashback ends. Kakashi-sensei had told me more of the power of the Murasaki no that was described in history books. The eyes don't only help to create and control crystals, but it also blocks all forms of genjutsu. Which means my Sharingan won't be able to do anything to him. Sasuke thought. Then maybe you use your talents rather than your bloodline limit to win this fight. Yang said. Yang, I guess you heard that. Sasuke thought. Of course, I did. Do not forget I am a spirit that lives inside of your body to give you some advice. But truth be told Sasuke, learning from what your teammates had said, Kageyaki may be a tough opponent. Even from within here in your body, I can tell Kageyaki's chakra signature, and it is large, perhaps even close to Junin's level. Yang said. So, what you're referring to is I could lose. Sasuke thought. Yes. Also, there is that cursed seal problem you are yet to deal with. Even if I wasn't properly awakened at that point, I saw your memories of the Sound Team incident. You became a killer, someone thirsty for blood. Thankfully your teammates had stopped you from making a big mistake. Yang said, reminding Sasuke of the incident. The cursed seal. I forgot about it after everything that happened. You're right. If I activate the seal, perhaps the Hokage herself might remove me from the shinobi ranks. Sasuke said. Tsunade was a very different person than her mentor Hiruzen. Tsunade was the type to act immediately. When Tsunade had first come to Konoha, she had healed Sasuke along with Kakashi and Lee at the time. When she had healed Sasuke, she checked on him and couldn't help but see the seal on Sasuke's shoulder. When she realized this was a seal by Orochimaru, she immediately wanted Sasuke to be removed from the shinobi rankings, suggesting it was for his own good to protect him from the seal. Kakashi, of course, had interrupted, telling Tsunade that he had every bit of confidence that Sasuke could suppress the powers of the seal inside of him. This led to a small argument between the Sannin and the number 1 shinobi of Konoha, with Kakashi trying to give Tsunade every bit of reason to trust him on this issue. Eventually, Tsunade listened and told Kakashi that Sasuke will be positioned as a shinobi. However, if Sasuke used the seal again, then she would have no choice but to remove him from the shinobi rankings, and prevent him from rejoining ever again. With the Junins, I really wish I was confident like I acted back then. Kakashi thought, looking at Sasuke. With Sound's team, there is no way he's going to win against Kageyaki. I mean, look, his reputation as being unbeatable has been going down lately. On top of that, Kageyaki's Kekkei Genkai not only allows him to create and control crystals, but all forms of genjutsu are blocked. To be honest with you, I had never seen Kageyaki lose at all. Kage said, sounding very confident with his voice. With Konoha's team. Be careful, Sasuke-kun, Hinata said, worriedly. In the arena. Alright, you remember the rules. Either one of you gets knocked out or unable to battle, or maybe, just maybe, one of you kills each other. Then that person is the victor of this match. Understand? Anko explained, earning her nods from both Sasuke and Kageyaki. And kid, Anko said, looking at Sasuke. If anything were to happen to that, I'm stepping in, withdrawing you from the match. Got it? Am I understood? Anko said, earning another nod from Sasuke. Then you two may begin. With that said, Anko walked away. So how do you want this battle to go? Sasuke asked. Well, I wouldn't mind if you withdraw now. Kageyaki replied. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze and Sakura Haruno are my teammates. They're both like my brother and sister to me. To be honest, I was pretty upset when I couldn't defend them or save them back at the Forest of Death. This fight may be a little personal for me. Sasuke explained. And why do I care? The Namikaze kid is an enemy of the Kesho clan. It is because his clan mine was driven to the winds, separated, disconnected. We the Keshos now live in embarrassment that our name was ruined by the Namikaze clan 400 years ago in the Bloodline Wars. I entered the Chunin exams for one reason and one reason only. So, I could kill the last member of the Namikaze clan, so I could avenge our clan name and cleanse it from the embarrassment in his blood. Kageyaki said. Kageyaki took a few steps forward. If that is so, then it must mean you crave revenge. Sasuke said. True. In other words, if revenge would resurrect the Kesho clan name back to its former glory, then yes, I am in a journey for vengeance. You could say that's how I intend to bring the name back. Even by any means necessary. Kageyaki said. So that means revenge against Naruto will restore your clan name? Sasuke asked. Indeed, it will. Kageyaki replied. This guy, he's so much like me. Sasuke thought. From Sasuke's mind, he replaced Kageyaki with everything that was him. A man on a mission for vengeance, the need to kill to restore a clan name, a powerful Kekkei Genkai, elite material, one of the strongest genins in the shinobi rankings. Definitely, a lot of Kageyaki was like Sasuke. And for that, Sasuke shivered in fear. But not in fear of Kageyaki's strength, but fear as in his personality. Almost a hollow image of a man who could have been different, someone who could have been a lot better. And to make matters all the worse, he also was a lot more like Orochimaru. While Kageyaki didn't possess the appearance nor the connections, his need to achieve his goal no matter who stands in his way is a lot more terrifying, and a lot similar to the way Orochimaru works. I suppose you didn't want this fight to happen either. Kageyaki said. I was hoping to eliminate the Namikaze kid, but here I am fighting you instead. As much as your reputation upholds, I have absolutely no interest in you at all. Kageyaki explained. All I want is to kill the Namikaze kid, or as Konoha prefers him, the demon brat. Kageyaki said. Sasuke slightly flinched at the word Kageyaki had referred to his adopted brother as. Kageyaki took notice of this and slightly chuckled at this, knowing he hit a nerve spot on Sasuke. With the cages, I can see that on the audience side of Konoha civilians that they seem to have a slight grudge against the Namikaze heir. The Otokage said, looking at the side of the stage where he could see the audience murmuring to each other about it. Tsunade took a look at the direction of where the Otokage was looking, and immediately regretted it as anger soon flew through her body. You might not know this, but have you ever heard of the Kyuubi attack? Tsunade asked. Of course, I had. The Otokage replied. 13 years ago, the village hidden in the leaves was attacked by one of the nine-tailed beasts, the Nine Tails. As far as I heard, it was a devastating day that goes down into Konoha's history, where hundreds, if not thousands, have lost their lives over the Kyuubi's hands, or paws, I should say. Now that I think about it, this boy Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze is also 13 years old. Does that mean he is somehow related to the incident? The Otokage asked. He is the son of the fourth Hokage, Minato Namikaze, and his wife, the Red Death of Konoha, Kushina Uzumaki Namikaze. Naruto is their son, Tsunade replied. While I wasn't there that day, I was told what happened. The Kyuubi attacked, and there was only one way to seal the demon, and that had to be an infant child that day because a full-grown person would prove no results at all. For a child that young, their body was yet to develop, so if the Kyuubi was sealed into a child, that wouldn't harm that child in any way. But the sealing was too much for Minato and Kushina, it killed both of them at the end of the day. Tsunade explained. Naruto is a hero despite what the villagers, the civilian council, and what the elders say about him. Tsunade added. Understandably, I know why they hold anger against him if he had done it that day. But if it was just a child who had no power at the time, then he is innocent, or perhaps even a victim if his parents gave up their lives to seal the Kyuubi in him. The Otokage commented. In a sense, I would guess that makes him as much of a victim as it makes them. The Otokage suggested. Yes. In those words, Naruto is indeed as much of a victim as the rest of Konoha from that attack. But unfortunately, due to the council's arrogance and that of the villagers, almost the entire Leaf Village refused to accept that, and instead, blame him as if he was the one that attacked Konoha a long time ago. Jiraiya said. And to, unfortunately, make matters worse for Naruto, the council went into his life. They feared that the great clans would adopt Naruto as their child, since most of the heads of those clans were Minato's best and closest friends. He was forbidden to be adopted at all costs, even by outsiders. Only civilians and shinobi other than Kakashi Hatake were to have Naruto. Jiraiya explained, even further. And let me guess, no one in Konoha wanted him at all, did they? The Otokage asked. Unfortunately. Tsunade replied. And all because of the 9 tails inside of Naruto. We can't even extract it out of him without killing him. Once a Jinchuriki grows up, most of their lives with the demon inside of their bodies. It's a permanent thing. Naruto will and forever always have the Kyuubi in him. Tsunade explained. And still they hold anger against him despite being the 4th Hokage's son. The Otokage asked. Yes. Tsunade replied. Unfortunately, even after we have revealed Naruto's heritage, Konoha still refuses to accept Naruto. Although it hasn't been a complete waste, the next generation of Konoha sees Naruto as a victim upon their parents' doing. The younger generation also has given up their bullying towards Naruto. Not only that, but Naruto had earned the acceptance of that outside of Konoha's walls. Tsunade said. And that would be Sand also. They all turned to look at Gaara, who was the one that said that. My village, the hidden sand village, also copied methods from here to me. My father was the Kazekage before me. My father continually kept the assassination missions on me with the backing of the Sand Council so I would develop my demon powers. He even used my uncle to turn against me, who was my mother's brother. Gaara explained. Then came the first Chunin exams. When I went head to head with Naruto, I learned there is more to life than just death and destruction, and so I had become the Kazekage. Gaara said. Which reminds me, even if you were the former Kazekage's son, you're still too young to take the mantle of a Kage, so why did Sand choose you? The Otokage asked. In the Sand Council, there are many of those who are corrupt. Already few shinobi arrested some of the members who attempted to leave Sand with pockets full. Also, there was no shinobi in Sand that was stronger than me, which I currently am, so the remaining members of the council chose me as the next Kazekage. Although I am only a Kazekage as a figurehead at the moment, my training to become Kazekage already began a few months ago. It was around then when I heard the news of Naruto's departure. Gaara replied. Departure? The Otokage asked. Yes, Naruto almost left Konoha, but we stopped him. Tsunade replied. I'm sure you can guess why all the years of anger and hatred finally got to Naruto, and so he lost control of the Kyuubi and attempted to leave to protect us from him, Tsunade explained before the Otokage could even ask her. It somehow doesn't surprise me that he almost left. Though what does surprise me is that it took him this long to leave the village after so many years of anger. Any shinobi would have had a different fate, yet this boy chose to remain in this village despite what was happening. The Otokage said. And Naruto wasn't leaving at his own choice either. He forced himself to leave since the Kyuubi started leaking out of him, which he believed leaving the Leaf Village was the best and suitable choice to protect us. Jiraiya added. So not only did he sustain the anger and the rage the villagers here gave him, but he also was prepared to give everything he had up so everyone could be kept safe. Looks like the rumors of Konoha I heard were true on how the village lost its what you call its will of fire. The Otokage said. Usually, when someone says anything about the will of fire, like that in front of Tsunade, Kage or not, she wouldn't let them get away with it and defend the name. But in this case, it seems as though Tsunade had accepted it for this time, considering the actions Konoha had been displaying for the past few years towards Naruto. And to make things worse, Jiraiya actually agreed with the Otokage about this. In some cases, on Naruto, Konoha had truly lost their will of fire. In the arena, let's begin with this little jutsu of mine, Kageyaki said, as he took a fighting stance while doing a series of hand signs which he then gave Sasuke a stern look. Crystal style. Crystal shot. He opened his eyes wide open. Sasuke at first questioned this, before he saw something shining coming from Kageyaki's eyes, and immediately moved while the shiny object had grazed his right shoulder, revealing that Sasuke had just missed barely. Did that trajectory come from his eye? Sasuke thought, shocked by Kageyaki's attack, and looked back behind him at the arena's walls where he saw a small crystal shard sticking out from it. Let me explain. Kageyaki started. My eyes from their pupils wherever I look can shoot tiny crystals like the one you could barely dodge. Kageyaki explained. And that's not even the limit of my power. Kageyaki said. Murasaki no. Kageyaki yelled, activating his Murasaki no immediately. Sharingan. Sasuke yelled, activating his Sharingan immediately. Crystal style. Electric shards. Kageyaki said, forwarding his arm and pointing it towards Sasuke. He grabbed his left, stretched out an arm with his right one, and targeted Sasuke. There Sasuke could see some purple electricity forming from the palm of Kageyaki's hands, being shaped to a crystal shard which was then launched towards his location. Sasuke immediately maneuvered the electric attacks, trying his best to avoid them. He jumped around the arena doing some athletic jumps, sinning, landing on his hands, and kick jumping all around to avoid Kageyaki's attacks. Crystal style. Avalanche. Bam! Kageyaki slammed his palm towards the ground which then formed crystals which then followed towards Sasuke from the ground like he was being chased by a mole. Not good, Sasuke exclaimed, jumping as high as he could. Eventually, the trail of spikes stopped where Sasuke had once stood, and immediately without warning, they grew high. So high Sasuke had to dodge them midair, and even that proved to be a challenge enough. Sasuke looked at Kageyaki's eyes that were full of nothing but ease and disappointment. With the gesture of his right hand, Kageyaki pointed his fingers and his palm towards Sasuke, who just started to fall down now from the high jump. He barely touched the tower of crystals, slightly tearing off small pieces of his shirt while also glazing a piece of skin from his cheek. The crystals from the tower's top he could see started to shake before breaking apart to large shards which then started to follow him like a missile. Once Sasuke had landed on solid ground he immediately began his retreat from the crystals. It is utterly useless, as my crystals will just follow you until they catch up to you. Your Namikaze friend couldn't outrun them himself even when he had the support of his shadow clone jutsu. Kageyaki referred. Images of his short-lived battle against Naruto appeared in his head in a small flashback, experiencing the battle he had with Naruto in the second phase of the Chunin exams. So, then I'll just attack you when you're vulnerable, Sasuke said, as he changed his course from running away from the crystals to now heading towards Kageyaki. Chidori, Sasuke yelled, as he made his right hand power up to reveal shards of electricity coming from his hand while dashing towards Kageyaki. The move of one famous Kakashi Hatake, known as the copycat ninja, and the son of the infamous White Fang of Konoha. Kageyaki said, unimpressed. Such a powerful jutsu but not strong enough to go against my crystal dome. With that said, from the ground up a large dome of purple-colored crystals formed around Kageyaki. The dome then molded and curved itself to become a perfectly shaped dome. Boom! The Chidori was smashed dead ahead of the dome. To Sasuke's surprise along with Konoha's side even Gaara, even though he didn't show it, was surprised that his move only cracked the dome so slightly that it was barely visible. Gaara remembered his match against Sasuke where two used a dome just like Kageyaki as a defensive move, only for that to shatter to pieces. But here the dome barely got scratched at all, especially from a powerful move like Sasuke's. Sasuke turned around, terrified that the shards still may have been chasing him, only gasping when he saw the shards fall to the ground in pieces. With the Junins, guess Kageyaki's moves can only be performed one at a time, not simultaneously, Asuma commented. With Sound's team, not good, he may have just found Kageyaki's weakness. Cage said. In the arena, inside the dome, Kageyaki barely could look through his crystal-made dome, seeing a deformed Sasuke past the crystals. While the dome provided Kageyaki protection, there were some faults inside the dome. While my dome may protect me and that it's permanently built so destroying it would be my only way out, it has also faulted. Oxygen cannot come in and or out of the dome, so my supply is limited. Unfortunately, even if I'm not using any of my chakra at this very moment, I still cannot use any attacks on the outside since my dome is blocking my vision from the outside, so only inside I can create crystals. One more thing. The minute I let go of this dome he'll attack me with that attack again. I can't take a hit from that or I'm done for, Kageyaki thought, while trying to come up with a plan against Sasuke. Even though it was more solid on the outside, meaning that the crystals people couldn't see the inside from the outside, Sasuke, when he walked closer, could see a figure of Kageyaki before him. Thanks to Sasuke's Sharingan eyes he could read the lips of one Kageyaki Kesho, understanding his plan once he gets out of the dome. He could also see that Kajayaki was breathing lightly, as though he was trying to conserve oxygen. Remembering his fight against Gaara at the last Chunin exams, he too used a similar defensive barrier like Kajayaki's, and he too had brought the barrier down from time to time until he could receive oxygen again. That meant Sasuke too had only a limited amount of time until Kajayaki breaks down his own barrier. Sasuke was beginning to think he would have to use that jutsu to take him down. With Sound's team, it looks like this guy had found out Kajayaki's weakness against this barrier. Kage said. True, while it may protect him from any outside danger, this also prevents him from receiving oxygen, so he can't stay in there very long or he'll suffocate to death by his own dome. Saraisu said. With Konoha's team, be careful Sasuke-kun, Hinata said lightly. In the arena, it had been around 15 minutes since Kajayaki had trapped himself in his own made crystal dome, which was to protect him from Sasuke's attacks. By then, the dome began breaking. Cracks appeared from section to section. This gave Sasuke the chance to prepare. Crack. Boom. The crystal dome had completely collapsed, revealing Kajayaki standing up straight with an unimpressed look on his face. Now then, I'm sorry for keeping you waiting, but for now this fight will get a little more serious than before. Kajayaki said, and I'll start with perhaps one of my strongest jutsus. Kajayaki said, pulling his hand up while making a hand sign which looked like he was holding a pistol from the trigger. Let me explain. Kajayaki said, like your Sharingan, my Murasaki no too has levels and different variations also. Level 1 of my bloodline limit allows me to generate crystals from wherever I look. Level 2 allows me to control them with the simple gestures of my hands and the sight of my eyes. Kajayaki began. Usually, I cannot perform this technique, nor can I unlock level 2 at a young age. But thanks to some classified training I am able to unlock greater levels of my Kekkei Genkei at a younger age. Kajayaki added. Soon I'll unlock level 3, which allows me to change the speed of my crystals when they are first generated from the ground, so the time it takes for them to reach a certain speed is removed. Level 4 allows me to change the temperature of my crystals too, from freezing cold to magma hot, which also gives me the ability to withstand certain temperatures with just bare skin. And the final level, level 5, allows me to generate crystals from my body itself, so I could wear it as armor, and any physical attacks will be useless against me. Kajayaki finished. I estimated that I would reach the limited power of my Murasaki no in 2 to 3 years with the training I have. Kajayaki added. So be grateful that the power of my Kekkei Genkei is only at its taste when dealing with you. Kajayaki said. So, I'm only fighting your Murasaki no when it's in its lowest power? Sasuke asked. True. Kajayaki replied. Chidori. Sasuke yelled, as he immediately powered up another attack from his hand and charged towards Kajayaki at full speed. That attack is useless as far as I can use my crystals and. Boom. Kajayaki said, before Sasuke had disappeared from his sight and reappeared next to him, delivering a powerful kick that sent him to a wall of the arena. The dust cleared before revealing Kajayaki again. How? Kajayaki exclaimed. With Sound's team, where did his attack go? 1 minute he has it, then disappears, then kicks Kajayaki so hard he sends him to the wall and now he loses his attack. Kage asked in pure shock. I could only theorize that maybe, just maybe, the Konoha shinobi must have used that attack to increase his speed so much we barely could see it. Saraisu replied. Let's say it's true, then how could he see? Kage asked. As far as I hear, the Sharingan can give the users a new perspective of sight, so I believe he used it to help him look where he was going. Saraisu replied. With the Junins. Guess Sasuke had finally managed to lay a hit on him. Asuma said. How could Sasuke get this fast? Kurenai asked. Well, I taught him the qualities of the attack, even how he could use the energy made and pull back into his body, which he could use for speed. That way Sasuke had an advantage against Kajayaki in terms of speed. Kakashi replied, explaining to Kurenai how he did it. In the arena. That was just pure luck. This time it's not. Kageyaki said, doing a series of hand signs before slamming his palms to the ground. Crystal style. Crystal clones. Kageyaki yelled, as crystals then were formed on the ground before shaping themselves to be Kageyaki. While the real Kageyaki stayed behind, his clones then charged towards Sasuke for an attack, their arms then morphed into a spike of crystals so they stabbed Sasuke with them. Even the Dobi's clones are better than these, Sasuke commented with a smirk. When one clone attempted to attack him, he jumped up, landing on that clone's head, breaking it on impact. Sasuke then jumped from the cone to another, pulling out a kunai and immediately cutting the head off of that clone. After cutting the clone's head off, he then jumped up when two of them attempted to stab him from the back, which they had missed, and landed in front of them before kicking them in the head when he landed on his hands on the ground. Time for another jutsu. Kageyaki said. Crystal style. Crystal lock. Kageyaki said, as he looked at Sasuke's hands, which then were soon consumed by crystals from the ground. When his feet landed after kicking the clone's head, the crystals also locked his feet into place. What? Sasuke exclaimed. Sasuke struggled, but the crystals were too strong, he couldn't break free. Now die, Kageyaki said, which made Sasuke gasp. Crystal style. Rainstorm. Kageyaki said, as he then pointed his fingers towards the ground next to Sasuke. There, the ground shook, and from the ground, crystals came flying up high in the air. Sasuke tried to move but couldn't, and when it was too late, the crystals rained down on him. Sasuke had to use all of the chakra he had in his body to protect himself as much as possible from the crystals. He was forced to use the curse seal Orochimaru had placed on him months ago to protect himself, which did him a lot of good. But Anko didn't think that way. At the closed cage entrance of the arena where the competitors would enter and exit, one Mitarashi Anko was standing there laying against the wall. When she saw how Sasuke's curse seal was beginning to glow, she immediately started to move and step in to stop the match and declare Kageyaki as the winner by default. But a hand was placed on her shoulder, which made her look back and see Iruka holding her. Here I thought you had faith in them, Iruka said, glaring at Anko with a stern look on his face. On the other hand, yes, but I can't. He has that damn seal that bastard placed on him. No one at all, knows how much damage that seal could do other than me. Anko said. Yet Kakashi trusts him with the seal, and so should you. You were the one back in the forest of death who told me I should trust my students more to take care of themselves, that was you. Iruka said. I know. Anko sighed, in defeat as she continued to watch the match. With the Junins. Guy gulped, before saying, are you sure it was a good idea to allow Sasuke to take the Chunin exams? If it's about that curse seal, then yes, it was okay. Kakashi said. How can you be so sure? Orochimaru's curse seals are nothing to laugh about. Kurenai said. She has a point, Kakashi. Even if Sasuke is your student, you should take a little bit more of an extreme to his curse seal. Especially if he might be an unstable person. Asuma said. It's about Itachi. Isn't it that he's unstable? Kakashi asked. Yes. Asuma replied. Ever since Itachi's last encounter, Sasuke had went out of his way to see him. Jiraiya-sama said it himself that he saw Sasuke fighting against Itachi. He was lucky enough to be alive at all, especially with the injuries he had. It taken Tsunade-sama herself to heal them. Asuma said. I know that. Sasuke is unstable. And to make matters worse, the curse seal placed on him gives him the belief he's ready to fight against Itachi. But he'd been changing. Kakashi said. What do you mean? Asuma asked. Well, let me put it like this. Kakashi replied. Ever since Naruto attempted to run away from Konoha, Sasuke had been acting more with his feelings. In the past couple of days when I was checking on him, he seemed to practice more and more with the jutsus he had learned. Back before Naruto tried to leave, Sasuke had been requesting more jutsus than before, some stronger techniques to learn, but he had cancelled that idea since Naruto had attempted to leave. And there was one more thing that does bother me. Kakashi said. Have either of you ever noticed he had been almost talking to himself lately? If I recall, you did say once in Kurenai your student Hinata started to do the same thing. Kakashi said. Yes, I did, Kurenai said, confirming Kakashi. Lately, Hinata had started to act like she had someone in her head. She thought strategies and attacks that she had never shown signs of before. And this was before Naruto tried to run away. Kurenai said. That doesn't sound like a coincidence to me if both genins started acting like that since Naruto's attempt to leave the Leaf Village. Asuma added, and the rest of the Junins couldn't agree more. In the arena. Bam, 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 were the sounds of the crystals falling on Sasuke, cutting pieces of his shirt. Once the crystals stopped and the smoke that was created by them cleared, Kageyaki looked at his handiwork. Sasuke's body was limp, his entire body down for the count, looked like he had no chance of getting up from this one. Hey, Proctor, Kageyaki called out. I finished my match with the so-called elite, now bring me the Namikaze kid. Kageyaki gave a demanding tone to Anko, who passed through the cage and entered the arena, checking Sasuke's pulse. You sure? Anko said. I mean, he is still in the match. Anko said. Impossible, the injuries that surround his body are too much for him to continue. Look at him. He can't even move a muscle, he's weak. Kageyaki said. Now bring me Konoha's so-called demon brat so I could kill him already. The kid deserves to die anyway. Kageyaki said, with venom in his voice. Don't cough, why you ever call Naruto? Sasuke said, as he started to stand up, which made Anko move back to the entrance to wait till the match was officially over. A demon, Sasuke said, with anger, hinted in his voice. Excuse me, Kageyaki said. I am SSSSS so sick and tired. Sasuke said, as he took a step forward. Of people calling my brother a demon. Sasuke yelled at the top of his lungs. Despite his injuries, his wounds, his blood loss, and his tired body, he couldn't just stand there and allow someone to insult Naruto's name in front of the whole village. And why not? I mean, most of this village said he was a monster. Since I've been here for at least a month, I heard the stories about how he has the nine-tailed fox inside of him. He even attacked me with that chakra, so I know for a fact that he's considered an enemy of Konoha. Kageyaki said. I always considered my life harder than his. Sasuke said. I grew up with a family and lost them in one day. Naruto. He had never had a family, and for that, I considered his pain easier than mine. Sasuke said. But I was wrong. It's not easier, Sasuke continued. It's harder. Sasuke said. Never having a family, no one to protect you, hug you, love you. No parents to calm you, teach you, talk to you, love you. I have great memories of mine, but Naruto does not. Sasuke said. He suffered worse than I did. Even when I lost everything, I still had friends here to help me every step of the way. But Naruto hardly had anyone help him, Sasuke said, taking a small break. And to make matters worse, the entire village hated him. They all did. And me, along with a handful of others, didn't care at all. Sasuke said, taking one more break. So, if you, or anyone in this village, sees Naruto as a monster, a demon, or worse in particular, would have to answer to me. Because Naruto is my brother and a better shinobi than me. Sasuke yelled at the last part. Silence filled not only the arena but the whole structure as well. Did Sasuke-sama just defend the demon brat? One villager said in shock. I guess he did, but I don't know. Another villager said. But why would someone of such high status defend him? He's dirt. He's the lowest of the low. Another shock villager said. Hum. Kajayaki gave a light chuckle underneath his mouth. What's so funny? Sasuke asked. I never thought I'd see the day or even dream of it. The last mighty elite had called anyone other than him better. Knowing your clan backstory, I suspect that's the most dishonorable thing you could say about yourself, especially since you're the last of your clan. Kajayaki said. There was a time I would have defended that name, even if it meant dissing another man's name just to protect it, but not anymore. Sasuke said. Well, it should. Kajayaki said. Let me explain. Kajayaki said. Oh, shut up. Sasuke said, interfering with Kajayaki's speech. I guess what Naruto said about you was right. You do say, let me explain, too many times. Sasuke said. I was saving this for someone else, someone more powerful than you are, but, Sasuke said, as he held his wrist as tight as possible. Since you said those things about Naruto, I guess I have no choice but to use it on you instead. Sasuke said. Let me guess, you're gonna use another Chidori, aren't you? Kajayaki asked. Wrong. Sasuke replied. This new jutsu I'm using is far more powerful than any Chidori you will ever see, so be grateful you'll be the first person I use it on. Sasuke explained, with a smirk on his face. With Konoha's team, Naruto didn't know what to say. He was still speechless after the speech Sasuke had given to defend him that nearly drove Naruto to tears. Naruto-kun, Sakura said, as she looked at her boyfriend's eyes. I'm just so happy that Tem defended me, he's a great brother. Naruto said. Sasuke-kun, Hinata said, quietly in shock still. In the arena, since you're using your strongest, there's no point in me holding back any longer. Like you, I was also saving this against the Namikaze kid. But since you're so determined, I guess I'll grant you the chance to get a taste of what I am capable of. Kajayaki said, as he held his arm out, doing the exact same holding pistol trigger gesture with his hand like he did before Sasuke interrupted him. Sparks came out of Sasuke's hand, which signaled the audience that he was making another one of the jutsus he used against Kajayaki so far. But to everyone's surprise, the sparks engulfed his whole arm. With the Junins, Kurenai clenched her teeth in shock, before turning her head to Kakashi and demanding aggressively, Kakashi. Please, don't tell me you taught him that jutsu. Why yes Kurenai, I did, thank you for noticing. Kakashi replied casually. No, you don't mean. Asuma said, as his mouth gaped open, which caused him to drop his cigarette. Lightning Dragon. Guy finished, with his arms crossed. Are you insane? That jutsu could kill him. If not, disable his body. Kurenai argued. You have faith in your students, don't you, Kurenai? Kakashi asked. I do. Kurenai replied. But that jutsu, Kakashi, you know what it can do to him. Have you forgotten when you tried to use it for the first time? You were lucky we were training there at the grounds while it happened, or you would have died that day. Kurenai reminded Kakashi of that almost faithful day. True, but this is my team, Kurenai, and I know how strong they are. Kakashi reminded. Even though Kakashi, by the end of the day, despite being genins, they are still young for that, don't you think? I wouldn't teach Lee my strength until I know his body is ready to take it. Guy said. That's because these 3 genins I have as a stunted guy are a lot different than you think. Kakashi said, before returning his attention back to the arena. In the arena, my jutsu, the Kesho clan jutsu, a very powerful one that's so powerful I cannot control it, so don't blame me if it kills you. Kajayaki said, as purple sparks started to come out of his fingertips. His hand then started to increase the voltage, which then became brighter at the very tips of his fingers. Crystal style. Kajayaki said. Lightning style. Sasuke said, as he is then gone to a near couch position holding his arm as tight as possible while groaning at the same time. Ah! Both Kajayaki and Sasuke started to yell. Crystal beam. POWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWW crystals the size of dust particles moved in the shape of a beam towards Sasuke, who wasn't moving one bit yet. Lightning Dragon, Sasuke yelled, as he charged towards Kageyaki. Sasuke's arm then was consumed by a lightning-made Chinese dragon that charged towards Kageyaki. The dragon grew larger and larger as Sasuke rushed faster and faster towards Kageyaki. The beam hit the dragon dead on, but the whole thing was dispersed. Kageyaki grew worried that his powerful jutsu had suddenly failed him. What? Not even the strongest jutsu of the Kessho clan can beat that thing. Kageyaki exclaimed in shock. I've got no choice. Crystal style. Crystal dome. Kageyaki said, as he surrounded himself with his dome once again. I highly doubt the dragon can come through this. Crack. Boom. Kageyaki found himself cut off as the dragon broke through his dome with utter ease, and then consumed him with its mouth. Boom. Lightning surrounded the stadium and the arena, as though the center was being struck by a lightning storm. It took several seconds before the lightning finally was put to a halt. Gasps and murmurs were heard all around the stadium. Sasuke was breathing heavily as he looked down at Kageyaki's now burnt body. Even though it looked like Kageyaki was dead, he was not. Sasuke made sure of that. Anko entered the arena for the second time and checked Kageyaki's pulse. She then stood up and pointed her arm towards Sasuke and said, "The win of this match goes to him." Immediately, cheers could be heard all around the stadium. Sasuke smirked, before leaving the stadium, now pleased with his victory against Kageyaki. Even I must say, Sasuke, I'm surprised that your arm didn't blow off at all with all of that chakra flowing through your body. Yang said. You can thank the Dobi for that one. Yang, his, never give up, ways tend to rub on you pretty quickly. Sasuke thought, with a smirk on his face. Someone get this guy to a doctor now. Next to Hanadoku too. It looks like he might be there for a while. Anko called out. With Sound's team, Kage had his hands against the rail as he watched the fight's results and couldn't be more surprised than he already was. I am impossible, Kage said in pure shock. Kageyaki lost. He hardly ever loses. He must have cheated. Kage exclaimed. That's just denial, Kage. Ayato said. It looks like he won fair and square too. Ayato added. Looks like Kageyaki won't be getting his revenge after all, huh? Ayato said. With Konoha's team. Hey Tem, thanks for sticking up to me. Naruto said, as he gave Sasuke a quick hug. They were annoying, that's all. Sasuke said, trying to hide his nervous look away from Naruto. I'm happy you're okay, Hinata said, as she hugged Sasuke from behind his back, thankful he was okay before letting go of him. In the arena, now it's time for the next match to begin. Tsunade announced. Hinata Hyuga vs Kage Kato. Tsunade announced in the stadium. With Sound's team, looks like the delicate Hyuga heir is your opponent, Kage. Saraisu said. Why did I have this girl as my opponent, and I can't have anyone like Kageyaki's? Kage groaned. Well, fate can be cruel. Ayato commented, with a slight smirk that showed the humor of Kage's situation. So why don't you just suck it up and go easy on her? Ayato said. She is still young, you know. Ayato said. The only reason you say that is because she looks a lot like the Yakumana over on Konoha's side. Kage fired back. With the Junins. Right off the bat your student Hinata is going up against a brute like Kage, Asuma commented. As far as I heard, Sasuke Kage was one of the shinobi that attacked him and Hinata during the Forest of Death exam. Kakashi hinted. Surely Hinata's flames of youth are strong enough, Kurenai. Guy said, in his usual, youth-sounding voice. I know Guy, Kurenai said. With Konoha's team. What? Kiba yelled. Hinata is going against him. Kiba argued. Just try your best, Hinata. Kiba said. Slap. Ino slapped Kiba on the back of his head. Idiot. Just try and have confidence in her. She is you, teammate, after all. I'm sure Hinata will do well against Cage. Ino said while holding Kiba's ear. Just do your best, Hinata. We'll be rooting for you. I'm sure you can beat him. Tenten said. Hinata was very nervous. With the cages. Kato. Tsunade said in slight confusion. If I remember, that meant slice, didn't it? Now that I remember more about it, Kato sounds particularly familiar. Tsunade said. It should. The Otokage said. Kato was one of the many clans that fought in the Bloodline Wars, another clan that fought with those that would use their bloodlines for power rather than the side against the one they joined. The Otokage said. And I guess that's not all either. Jiraiya said. Kato was once part of a bigger and stronger clan when they were one once. Jiraiya said. Jiraiya-sama, what do you mean? Shizune asked. The name of the Kato clan was once referred to as the Catanera clan. Jiraiya replied, which made Shizune gasp. Did you say "en Nara" at the end? A shocked Shizune said. Long ago the Katos and the Naras were once part of one clan. Katos and Naras were, you could say, two faces of the same exact coin. Tsunade explained. Like the Hyuga clan, which is divided into two parts, for one the main household, and two the branch. The Katos and Naras were alike. Tsunade explained. Like the Naras, I heard the Katos too have a shadow-like ability which they too can use as a weapon, but not attach or bind like the Naras do. They can use their shadows like weapons. Tsunade explained. And your next question is, why are they divided now? Don't worry, I got that covered. Jiraiya assured. When the Bloodline Wars came to be, the once Cataneras were involved in the fight. The clan was large but poor. Money was needed, so the Katos suggested using their shadow skills for mercenary missions, since they were the highest paid missions during that time period, and of course, the Naras objected to this. When the Bloodline Wars rolled in, everything changed in the Catanera clan. The Katos were using their shadow techniques for mercenary missions, which angered the Naras a lot. The last straw came when a plan was made by the side that opposed non-bloodline users, which could have changed the tide of the war in their favor, and perhaps could have won them the war too. The plan was to ravage every single village by killing the leader and the daimyo, which would have collapsed the other side's alliance, and if they did do this, many innocent lives would have been lost that day, too many in fact. When the Naras found out about this strategy, they immediately intervened and stopped the Katos from their plan. This is what made them from family to enemies. 100 years later and they still aren't friends. Jiraiya explained to Shizune. The Bloodline Wars left a lot of families and friends, along with many people, hearts broken. Like you've seen the fight yourself, Shizune, Kageyaki was still after vengeance against anyone from the Namikaze clan. Even when it's been hundreds of years, the Keshos are still after the Namikazes for the embarrassment. Tsunade explained to her apprentice. With Konoha's team. Cage. Neji said while thinking of the name. That name means shadow. Neji said. What's wrong, Neji? Lee asked, looking at Neji's concerned look on his face. I think Hinata-sama, you should forfeit the fight. Neji replied. What? Naruto, Sakura, Tenten, and Ino exclaimed. I can sense incredible chakra inside of this cage. I don't know how or why, but I think he's at a Junin's level of strength. Neji said. But Sasuke-kun and Hinata-chan both fought him in the Forest of Death along with his teammates. Lee argued. But they were only going easy on us, and with the given time period, Lee, I think they did it on purpose so they could waste the given time for fun. I always know they must have been hiding more of that strength inside of them. Sasuke said, supporting Neji's claim. However, Sasuke said, it's Hinata-chan's fight, we should give our trust to her. Sasuke said. Yeah, Sasuke's right. We should trust that Hinata will deal with that cage guy by herself with no problem. Naruto said in a cheering voice. Maybe, but I don't. It will be a no problem solution, Naruto. Shikamaru said, as he looked closer towards Cage. What do you mean? Naruto asked. I mean that this guy is a Kato, an enemy of the Naris as my dad always told me. The Katos have a shadow weapon-like ability as we do. You can't just take this one for granted. Shikamaru said, in a warning voice. Why does it sound like you know him? Ino asked, in confusion. That's because Dad told me about these guys. Shikamaru replied. This would take a while to explain, but Hinata has a match, right? Shikamaru said. Yes, she does. Sasuke said. We'll be rooting for you, Hinata-chan. Sasuke said, with a smile that calmed Hinata down greatly. Yeah, you can do it. Naruto cheered. Thanks Sasuke-kun. Hinata said. With the cages. Excuse me Hokage-sama. An Anbu appeared behind Tsunade as he kneeled down before her as if she were royalty. But there is an urgent issue that needs your attention. The Anbu said. Please excuse me Otokage-sama, Kazekage-sama, but there is something urgent I must tend to. Tsunade said. It is okay Hokage-sama. Duty calls I guess. The Otokage said. In the arena, how could Kajayaki get the opportunity to go against an opponent worthy of his skills and me to get the small fry? An irritated Kage groaned. When stepping towards the nervous Hinata, he could already tell that the match was over before it had even begun. Enko was at the center of the fight. She looked at Hinata and compared her to Kage, while in thought, look at her. I bet she's already scared. Can't blame her though, even if the listings were made at random with some of them arranged, I don't think she stands much of a chance against this guy, especially if she's weaker than her cousin Neji Hyuga. You know the rules. Enko began. Yeah, I know. If I kill her or make sure she passes out, then I pass the fight. Let's just get the show on the road. Kage said, in a slight annoyance mixed with a cocky tone. Enko then left to the entrance of the arena. My name is Hinata H. Hyuga, and I'll be your opponent. Hinata said, trying to get serious but failed when her voice slightly stuttered. You know girly. Kage said, as his fists clenched harder and harder. I like your attitude. So, here's what I propose for you to do. Kage said, with an amusing smile. You raise your hand and forfeit the match and there won't be a need to fight. Kage explained. But don't, then I guess I'll have no choice but to fight you, and I'll try not to be as brutal as I usually would be. How about we have a deal? Kage said. Hinata's skin started to shiver, her body almost frozen in complete fear and horror. What was this feeling she was having? Was it because of Kage? Because of his immense strength he was displaying? Kage's chakra he was leaking out to show completely shocked Hinata. She didn't even need her eyes to see the strength he had possessed either, since she could clearly see that he was almost covered by his own blue chakra that flew over his body like fire. Even the audience was captivated by Kage's performance. Kage gave a light chuckle, knowing Hinata's answer. Her shoulders shrugged a bit, then her arms started to lift, which would have informed Enko that she was gonna give up the match. Don't do it. Hinata heard a yell from a familiar voice and looked to her right where the genins were. Hinata-chan, don't do it. Sasuke yelled. The amount of power he's giving is only for show, don't listen to him. Sasuke yelled. He's right, Hinata, kick his ass. Kiba yelled. Arf. Akamaru barked in agreement. You can do it, Hinata. Ino yelled. Don't let him intimidate you. Tenten yelled. Hinata, you can do it. Naruto yelled. You can win it, Hinata. Sakura yelled. Hinata-sama. Forget the preliminaries. Forget everything I said that made you weak because you're strong inside. Neji said loud enough for Hinata to hear. Hinata had her hand lifted for a bit, which started to shake upon hearing Sasuke's, Neji's and her friends' voices reach out to her. Forget what they're saying and just forfeit the fight already for. Kage said, before Hinata cut him off. Bam! The arm Hinata had held, which she was ready to forfeit the match with, was suddenly now connected to Kage's gut. Hinata was in the Hyuga fighting stance. Byakugan. Hinata yelled. Bang! 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 bang, 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 bang. Hinata used her traditional Hyuga palm fighting styles against Cage. She was so fast even Neji couldn't pick up her speed. After a while, she stopped and panted while holding her legs out of tire. Her palms had smoke coming from them while panting crazily from delivering that many attacks to her opponent. Hinata looked up at Cage, who to her surprise was also covered in smoke from her attacks. A large number of people were speechless to see the Hyuga child manage such a devastating attack. But soon that believed victory would soon turn to disappointment. With the Cages, Hinata Hyuga, the Otokage said, thinking of Hinata's name. If I remember correctly, wasn't there an incident involving Hinata Hyuga in some sort of abduction years ago? The Otokage asked, as he looked at Jiraiya. Yes, Otokage-sama, Jiraiya replied. Years ago, when Hinata Hyuga was young, Konoha and Cloud finally made a peace agreement that would put all those years of fighting to rest. But eventually, the day after the agreement was signed, Cloud Shinobi, more specifically a member of the Cloud Council, the ambassador, attempted to take Hinata Hyuga away from Konoha. Jiraiya explained. It's no surprise there since Cloud has been gutting for the Hyuga bloodline for a while now, along with some of their techniques. Jiraiya added. It wasn't until Hiyashi Hyuga, Hinata's father, had met face to face with the ambassador, and killed him right on the spot. The ambassador was wearing a mask, so at the time we had no idea he was the ambassador of the village hidden in the cloud. For killing the ambassador of Cloud, the village threatened us for the life of Hiyashi Hyuga or the fighting would continue, and the peace treaty would be terminated. Jiraiya continued. With little choice and no hope to avoid the decisions, Hiyashi Hyuga decided that it would be time to end his own life for the sake of the Leaf Village. But his brother, Hizashi Hyuga Neji Hyuga's father, had offered himself to the elders of both Konoha and the Hyugas. Since Hizashi looked like Hiyashi, it was easy to fool Cloud into believing they would be killing the head of the Hyuga clan. Jiraiya finished. And if I heard correctly, once Cloud realized it was someone else, they gutted for Konoha again, right? The Otokage asked. Yes. Jiraiya replied, with annoyance in his voice. Once they figured it out, Cloud immediately returned to Konoha a few years later, demanding Hiyashi's body. Luckily at the time a new Raikage was appointed and had arrested those of the Cloud Council that used the peace agreement as a way to sneak into Konoha and kidnap Hinata Hyuga. As a slight apology, the Raikage even gave Hizashi's body back to Konoha, while at the same time executing the members of his council that were a part of the plot to kidnap her. Jiraiya finished. I see. The Otokage said. With Konoha's team, it looks like Hinata gave Kage one hell of a beating. Shikamaru said, as he watched the battle and the tired Hinata from the fighting. Indeed, but I don't think she beat him yet. Neji said. What are you talking about, Neji? Tenten asked. What he means, Tenten, is that his chakra is still flowing. Shikamaru replied for Neji. I don't know how, but his strength hasn't faded even a bit. Shikamaru explained. In the arena. Well, that was unexpected. Hinata grew shocked hearing Kage's voice, which sounded perfectly normal. It shouldn't sound normal because he should be in pain, or at least hurt from taking that many attacks from Hinata. But I guess you made your decision. Kage said, with a smile as he looked at the now petrified Hyuga. How? Hinata asked, in slight fear. I'm sure you know the concept of the Nara clan, right? Kage replied. Well, like the Nara clan, we too can use shadows too. Kage explained, as he lifted his right arm up, which soon was consumed by his own shadow. Hinata looked at his legs to see his shadow was gone. Well, we can use our shadows too, but differently. Kage explained. What? Hinata exclaimed quietly. For example, Kage said, as he lifted the arm up high in the air, which soon turned into the head of a chainsaw. Shadow style. Chainsaw, Kage said, as he then swung his saw-like arm down to Hinata, who jumped away fast in time to avoid Kage's attack. Hinata's palm hit Kage's back, hoping that it would have slowed him down or injured him the slightest, only for her own hand to take the damage in herself. Hinata held her hand close to her body, feeling the bones slightly crumble. As you used against me, I used my own shadow to protect myself. In other words, I'm as strong as a rock. Kage explained. Ah, Hinata yelled, as she then began attacking Kage with everything she had. Kage simply stepped from side to side and walked back a bit while effortlessly dodging Hinata's attacks. This lasted for a minute of desperation and hardship on Hinata's side. Kage played Hinata like she was a doll to him. Surely the Hyuga heir should be stronger than that. Kage said, with a smirk on his face. Kick. Kage kneed on Hinata's gut hard. Hinata coughed a bit, which then released a little blood on the ground. Kage then punched Hinata again in the stomach, sending her up, then he kicked her down and then kicked her head again and sent her up. Kage then began his brutal assault on Hinata, using very little of his strength to hurt her. With the Junins, please tell me you taught Hinata some sort of a secret technique or some new ability. Asuma said, with a slight panic in his voice. No, I had no idea she would go against someone like him. Kurenai said, her eyes filled with fear of losing her student. With Konoha's team, Hinata-sama, Neji yelled, trying to restrain himself from entering the arena and stopping Kage's assault. Damn it, We need to do something. Naruto said. Like what? She's in a match with Naruto and her opponent has proven to be stronger than her. Shikamaru said. Then I'll go and help her. Naruto said, as he then began rushing out so he could get to the entrance of the arena. I'm coming too. Sakura said. Count me in. Ino said. You three can't go. Shikamaru said, which made Naruto, Sakura, and Ino all stop at their tracks. If we don't, he could kill Hinata. Ino said. Naruto, Ino, both of your matches haven't come up yet. Shikamaru informed. Well, who cares? Hinata's life could be in danger here. We need to stop him. Naruto said. As always, you're jumping the gun again. If you, Ino, or Neji jump in right now, all three of you will be disqualified from the Chunin exams. Shikamaru said, taking a brief pause. So, we'll just wait in. Ino said, before Shikamaru continued his sentence. And then if you do go out, not only will you be disqualified, but you'll also be banned from taking the Chunin exams for 3 years. Shikamaru said. What? Just because we'll enter, we'll be banned? That's crazy. Ino complained. I know it is, Ino, I know. Shikamaru said. But it doesn't matter at all, not when those two are in the middle of a match. Shikamaru said. And besides, look at Sasuke. Shikamaru said, as he turned his head towards Sasuke. Crack. Sasuke held onto the rails, which began to slowly crack due to his strength. The ground he stood upon began to crack also, and his body was overflowing with blue chakra. His eyes locked tight on the battlefield with anger that was directed towards Kage in his brutal assault on Hinata. Naruto and Sakura looked at Sasuke's eyes that were telling them he was prepared any minute now to attack Kage and save Hinata. But the way the eyes also looked, he was restraining himself to enter the arena himself, knowing what punishment would wait if he was to act now. Sasuke's curse seal began to glow orange, but then the glow stopped when Sasuke tried to control his emotions. In the arena, Hinata was on the ground, bloody. Her hands clenched hard on the dirt below her, feeling every muscle and nerve sting with pain from the injuries Kage had given her. And to make things worse, he hadn't even started to fight properly, he was just holding back for fun. But Kage's patience was wearing thin. He did not like being in this fight at all. It was an embarrassment to him to be fighting someone of lower strength than he is. I wasn't there on the Chunin exams last time, but I heard you received quite a beating from Neji Hyuga, Konoha's last year Rookie of the Year, and he beat you terribly. Kage said. Because the audience here thinks I'm being cruel, I'll give you one last chance to survive this fight. Kage said. Forfeit, or if you don't. Kage said. This arena will be your grave. Kage said. Hinata's face immediately turned to fear again upon hearing Kage's words coming from his mouth. If she was to continue fighting him, then she would die in this arena, not the way she would like you to go out. My friends, Neji, Sasuke-kun. They're all supporting me to win. Hinata said, as she slowly got up. And I will win. Hinata yelled. 8 trigrams 64 palms. Hinata yelled, as a sphere of blue energy surrounded her and the area around her. The range of her attack became visible that it covered half the arena. Oh crap. If I don't get away from her soon, I'll be caught in that thing. I'm dead meat. Kage said, in panic. People started screaming as they held onto their kids, skirts, belongings, hair, and their seats while trying their best to avoid the wind's strength that was caused by Hinata's attack. Even Shizune, who was forced to close her eyes, took a steady stance to protect herself, while the Otokage, Jiraiya, and Gaara all sat there like nothing was happening, as though the wind didn't bother them at all. Naruto held Sakura to protect her from being pushed away by the wind, while Sasuke, Shikamaru, and Neji all held onto the rails as tight as possible. Lee and Choji were rolled away while Tenten summoned a katana which she stabbed it to the ground to keep herself stood still, Ino couldn't take the strength of the wind anymore and was tossed backward, before some shadow which formed an arm grabbed her back, helping her to stand still. Ino barely could see it, but she could have sworn that Ayato from Sound's team was holding a finger sign which must have been helping Ino to stand still and avoid getting hurt. Yo and Hao were holding on to the rails too, while Saraisu had his wind abilities create some sort of a force field to protect himself. Even the Junins themselves were unaffected by Hinata's attack. A few minutes have passed, and Hinata's attack along with all of her chakra was gone, leaving her leaning forwards while standing up, breathing heavily from the attack she just delivered. Dust surrounded the arena, which meant no one, not even Hinata, could see where Cage was. Hinata was so out of power she couldn't maintain her bloodline anymore and was forced to shut it down. Once the dust cleared, Hinata's eyes opened wide in curiosity, as she could see some sort of a black sphere surrounding something that would be Cage's height, which soon died down and revealed Cage himself. Well, that was an impressive attack. Luckily my jutsu protected me so I didn't get any damage whatsoever. And it looks like you're out of energy. What a shame. To be honest, I was actually having a little bit of fun with that performance you just made, but some good things come to an early end, I suppose. Cage said. I did give you the chance to leave this battle and forfeit the match. Cage said. The Chunin exams rules state that I am allowed to kill you, right? Since you made your decision, I guess I can arrange that. Now, prepare to die, Cage said, as he then lifted his arm up, which soon was covered by his own shadow. I don't have any more chakra left, what should I do? Hinata thought to herself, trying to find a way out of this hopeless situation. Perhaps I can help you with that, Hinata. Ying suggested to Hinata. Why, you can help me? Hinata thought, with a slight shock on her face. Yes, I can, Ying said. But I thought you could only advise me. Hinata thought. I can, but in my own rules, I can only help you with the power I have until your body is up to it. Which means you're not strong enough to handle it without taking any damage. But I guess I'll make an exception in this case. Ying said. Thank you, Ying-san. Hinata thought. When you're ready, Hinata, this is what I need you to do for me. Ying said. Please tell me. Hinata thought. This is the end. Cage said, as he soon then charged towards Hinata at an incredible speed that not even the naked eye could see him. He rushed to Hinata so fast his arm was only inches from her heart. Goodbye, Hyuga, Cage said, with a smile. Suddenly, to Cage's surprise, Hinata grabbed Cage's hand effortlessly. Cage at first was surprised, but then he shrugged it off and tried to retract his hand. But he couldn't. And instead of freeing his arm, he only felt the pressure build up as Hinata began squeezing hard on it. He placed a hand on Hinata's arm as he then tried to rip it from his arm but couldn't at all. Then he felt the pressure getting higher, and higher as Hinata began squeezing his arm harder and harder. Gasps were heard all over the arena as most of the shinobi started to feel a spiritual chakra pressure coming from Hinata. It's time to end this, Hinata quietly said, her head pointing downwards while her hair was covering her eyes with its a dark shadow. Let go of me, you're hurting. Let go. Where did all of this power come from? Cage frantically said, as he then began his attempts to slip his arm through Hinata's grip. BWWWRRRRRR. Hinata looked at Cage, which surprised him a lot with the eyes she had. It wasn't her bloodline limit, instead, it was completely white with a light white pupil in the middle. White style. Spiritual palm pressure. Hinata yelled, as she then pulled her arm back, forming a palm with her hand, and then thrusting it so fast towards Cage's gut even he couldn't see it. Bam! Cage was struck by Hinata's palm, and for a few seconds nothing happened. Suddenly Cage's shirt on his back was ripped, creating a large hole on it, which revealed a large white light wave coming from his back, which seemed to have come from Hinata originally. Ah! Cage yelled in pain. It all then stopped, and as it did, Hinata let go of Cage's arm, which he then stood still looking at Hinata, with some blood coming from the corner of his mouth. He rubbed the blood and then looked at it. It's over, Hinata said weakly, as her eyes then returned to normal. How could I lose to a weakling? Bam! Cage said before he collapsed face first to the ground. Hinata heavily panted, while Anko came and looked at Cage's body while checking his pulse to find that he was still alive but weak and severely injured. I have no idea what just happened, but you won. Anko said. The winner of the match is her. Anko then announced to the crowd, who then started to cheer for Hinata. I did it, Sasuke-kun. Hinata said, as she turned her head to Konoha's team and smiled at them before she then fell forward, collapsing to the ground. Got ya, Anko said, as she caught Hinata before she fell to the ground. Hey, get some medics here ASAP, these two are gonna need it. Anko said. With Sound's team, Hana, Kageyaki, and now Cage. Looks like Konoha's genins have a large amount of luck on their side. 3 times in a row they shortened our numbers. Saraisu said. Those 3 were our strongest. Yo said. Genins in our group, how could they lose? How finished? Hana has always been cocky, Kageyaki has too much pride in his attacks, and last but not least Cage has always been too confident with his strength and always underestimated his opponent. Ayato said. True, so far our team has been going against members of Konoha's strongest genins, and it looks like they have more. Saraisu said. With Konoha's team, Hinata-sama, Neji yelled, as he jumped from the audience section and onto the arena, rushing towards Hinata. Hinata-chan, Sasuke said in panic, as he too followed Neji. Hinata. Both Naruto and Sakura said, as they both followed Sasuke. Shikamaru. How did Hinata-chan get such a powerful technique? Lee asked, as his eyes were full of surprise. To be honest with you, Lee, I have no idea how Hinata achieved such strength or power, but whatever it was, it helped her win the fight. Shikamaru replied. In the arena, Tsunade had gone for a short urgent call, but she'll return. Jiraiya announced. For now, the next match will begin shortly. And we will move, Jiraiya announced. Location. Konoha, specific location, outskirts of the village. How did this happen? Tsunade asked, anger clearly expressed in her voice. We have no idea, an Anbu agent replied, but judging from the smell and the look of this corpse, it may have been a week tops since he was killed. The Anbu said. Tsunade was standing in front of a Junin shinobi. A dead shinobi. His body was slumped forward while in a sitting position with legs spread and his head leaning as forward as possible. His eyes were covered by the shadow of his Konoha headband and he was sitting in a pool of his own blood. He had 3 katana stabs on him, 2 on his chest and 1 in his stomach. They were all on top of a building where there was no door to access the rooftop unless the person used a ladder. The manager of this building we were standing on sent an employee to paint the roof. But when he came here, this poor man was already here. A crow wearing a mask shinobi said. Judging from the dry blood, we could only suggest he may have been here for around a week. A bird wearing a mask shinobi said. And that's not the last of it either. It seemed as though our victim may have seen something he wasn't supposed to and lost his life. We extracted a few shards of the enemy's blade that were trapped inside of him and ran for analysis. Apparently, the shards belong to wind-induced katana, a very new model. It seems that only one village has developed recently. A pigeon wearing a mask shinobi said. Sound. Tsunade said. With respect Tsunade-sama. Tsunade turned her head to see a cat wearing Anbu-masked kunoichi walking towards her with purple hair. Obviously to Tsunade she was Yugao, perhaps the best and the most skilled Anbu in the Anbu corps that rivals the skills of Kakashi Hatake himself. It may not be my place to speak, however during this situation I feel I may need to say something. With your permission of course. Yugao asked. Go ahead Yugao. Tsunade replied, allowing Yugao to speak freely. Very well ma'am. Yugao said. The last time anything like this happened on the final day of the Chunin exams was 6 months ago. When a shinobi similar to his case was also killed in a similar way and fashion. Yugao explained. That man was Hayate, and the day that happened was the invasion. Yugao finished. I see. Tsunade said, as she looked at the dead shinobi next to her while giving herself a very frustrated look on her face. What are your orders, Hokage-sama? A cat wearing Anbu man asked. I've got no choice, do I? Tsunade replied. I want a perimeter set around both the cage and the otokage themselves, after that I want to interrogate them and find answers. We're gonna have to cancel the Chunin exams for this year. Tsunade explained, while the other Anbu nodded. Now hang on a second. Tsunade turned her head along with the other Anbu to see Kakashi Hatake himself while reading his orange book walk towards them. I'm sorry, but I couldn't help but overhear your conversation, Tsunade-sama. Kakashi said. Kakashi, I take it you haven't been here very long have you? Tsunade asked. Only long enough to understand the orders. Kakashi replied. You have a lot of faith in your students and I can congratulate you for that. I know how heartbreaking it must be for them to lose this second chance of becoming Chunin, but we cannot worry about that right now. Tsunade explained. Which is why I advise you to continue the Chunin exams. Kakashi said. What? Tsunade exclaimed. The Leaf Village has been infiltrated by the enemy shinobi. Our loyal guests have been taking advantage of us for a second time. Tsunade said. Which is why I believe the Chunin exams can act for us as the element of surprise. Kakashi said. Alright, go on. Tsunade said, slightly interested where Kakashi is going with this. I still remember the Chunin exams with the sand sound invasion like it was yesterday, though it was 6 months ago. Kakashi said. I understand that you don't want to make the exact same mistakes as your mentor the third Hokage had done. Kakashi said. Sarutobi sensei should have known better than to put the whole village at risk over the Chunin exams. Tsunade said. But I think the third Hokage did make a good decision on that. Kakashi said. What are you saying? Yugao asked. Well, I'll give you a small hint. We were so close to the Chunin exams finals that not only Konoha, but visitors from both Sand and Sound were excited about it. Also, enemy shinobi didn't suspect a thing that we were suspicious of. If we were to end the Chunin exams at the time, then our enemies would have acted earlier than they did, perhaps they would have killed a lot more people and shinobi than they did before. Kakashi replied. So, what you're saying is that if we were to end the Chunin exams right now when we're halfway through the final exams, then our enemies would strike now rather than later. Tsunade said. Kakashi nodded. I now understand why Sarutobi sensei did it. But I'd rather not take that chance now. Tensions in the village itself with our own people and shinobi are high at the moment. Kakashi ever since Naruto attempted to leave. 2 separate generations are now arguing with one another. If we allow this to keep up and give our enemy the chance to attack, then maybe, just maybe, if we do survive, the blame would be put on Naruto and would lead to unforeseen consequences. Tsunade explained. With the issue with the Kyuubi at the moment, and the power Naruto displayed before us, Konoha's civilians and shinobi are now tense after the reports that were revealed about the situation. Tsunade explained. I know Tsunade-sama, I know. Kakashi said. Then why do you want to risk that? We are more prepared with our barriers and shinobi on the walls of the village than before. Also Jiraiya has returned and now that I'm back this makes 2 of the 3 legendary Sannin in our forces. Tsunade said. Do you know when the current generation of Konoha started to appreciate Naruto? Kakashi said. It was after the first Chunin exams incident that Naruto was being appreciated by the village when word got out, he defeated the Kazekage-sama, Gaara, at the time. Kakashi said. Since then Naruto had been getting quite a few recognitions from the villagers also. Kakashi said. So, what you're saying is that not only going along with the Chunin exams will work for us as a surprise attack against Sound, but it will also benefit Naruto's situation also. Tsunade asked. Well, I'm not being technical or anything, but I would have to put my money on that. Kakashi replied. What would your answer be, Tsunade-sama? Kakashi said. Tsunade looked down at the ground with a thoughtful look on her eyes, trying her best to think of an answer and a decision on the situation with their dead shinobi. Location. Stadium, specific location, inner stadium. While the outside area of the stadium serves as the main feature for entertainment, the inside is a whole different story. Snack bars, drinking machines, merchandise, and even the main best a mini Ichiraku's ramen stand that was made by the manager and his daughter is a small added business to use when the Chunin exams are up. While everyone is on break until the arena is fully repaired for the next match, some of the contestants were walking around the area since they left the audience standing through the regular exits. There one Ino Yakamana was walking around, trying to find the one person who helped her stand up while Hinata's attack almost blew her along with everyone else away. I can't believe Cage lost. Ino heard a voice, she turned to find Yo and Hao with Ayato and Saraisu. Yeah, he's gonna be a little made once he wakes up. Hao said, after his younger brother Yo had spoken. I wish you would feel sorry for me. Once Cage wakes up he's gonna be complaining every day about this defeat towards me and Hana, might as well let Konoha keep him, he's their problem now. Saraisu said, with his hands behind his back of his head in a pillow-like formation. I know I'm not gonna let him down. Ayato said, speaking of you, I couldn't help but realize that you were holding up a hand sign while the Hyuga's attack was happening. For what reason was that jutsu for anyway? You're strong enough to stand up against such a powerful wind by yourself. Saraisu asked. I was just, well, making sure, I mean it was some sort of a spiritual attack, wasn't it? Ayato replied. I guess so. Saraisu said. Though when I had seen Konoha's genins when they were being blown away, I couldn't help but see the blonde Kunoichi fall back, but she was caught by something. Surely that wasn't you with your jutsu, was it? Saraisu asked. Of course not. Ayato said, looking away from Saraisu whose sweat dropped from Ayato's embarrassed reaction. What are you, 5? Saraisu joked. So, it was him. Ino thought to herself. Excuse me. Ino said, as she approached Ayato. Oh no. Ayato whispered. Well, look who it is. Have fun, Ayato. Saraisu said, as he then walked away from Ayato with a smirk on his face. You like her. Both Hao and Yo said in unison. Shut up. Ayato said, which then made Yo and Hao walk away while laughing at their friend. I just want to say thank you. Ino said. For what? Ayato asked. For helping me when Hinata's attack pushed me away. I really hope she'll be okay. Ino replied. I guess I should hope so too. I'm sorry about my friend Cage's behavior, he is too proud of himself to go easy on anyone. Ayato explained, while apologizing at the same time. About him, I heard from my teammate Shikamaru that he's a Kato, and there's a history between the Naras and Katos. Ino spoken. So, I'm guessing your friend Shikamaru is a Nara then, huh? Yep, Cage is definitely a Kato, and as he expressed to us, the Katos and Nara were once allying with one another, once they were together known as the Katanara clan. Ayato said. Yeah, like you right. Ino said. Ayato gave her a confused look. I mean you are a Kato right, you did make that shadow with a jutsu of yours to help me, right? Ino asked. Alright, let me explain. Ayato replied. Oh no, now I sound like Kajiyaki. Ayato joked. Like I told you my name when we first met, I did not say it was Kato, nor do I have anything related at all to the Kato clan or the Nara clan if you had a thought about that. Ayato explained. I just mainly learned a long-lost ancient jutsu, that's all, a technique I had improved over time. Ayato said. So, I guess it wasn't your own shadow you were using, huh? Ino said. Actually, I didn't use my own shadow, I created one. Ayato explained. What? Ino gasped lightly, shocked to hear that Ayato had created a shadow in order to protect Ino. Yep, it's both an old and a brand new jutsu style that had been recently developed. Ayato explained. Old and new, Ino said, out of confusion. To put it precisely, it was an old jutsu style that could only make shadows and use them for climbing and dodging obstacles, not for combat. It was only recently that the jutsu was used again in my village by my mentor, who not only rediscovered the jutsu but also improved it, so now it can be used for battle with quick thinking. Ayato explained. It works like this. If you have a big imagination like mine, you can create anything from a shadow as far as the eye can see. Although, the jutsu by the end of the day doesn't last long, so it's only temporary, so I wouldn't exactly use it for construction or anything similar like that, it only lasts for a small while before it disperses. Ayato explained further. Then how come I never seen it before? Ino asked. This is why. Ayato replied. My shadows as a jutsu is one of the many lost jutsus in the Bloodline Wars. Like many unfortunate useful jutsus, this was lost because at the time it was also a newly developed jutsu. I heard the story that the village that developed the jutsu was destroyed by the Kekkei Genkei users to avoid the ones who had no bloodline limit from getting any stronger than they were before, which meant eliminating the entire village. Ayato explained. That's awful. Ino commented. It was. Ayato said. Anyway, since Cage's actions and his carelessness had almost destroyed the entire arena, the village here has no choice but to make repairs until then. Honestly, I had no idea that Hyuga was so strong. Ayato said. I know. Ino said, taking a brief pause. I never seen Hinata like that. I've known her for years since kindergarten. Even at the last Chunin exams she was no match against Neji, and suddenly out of nowhere she achieved a very powerful attack. Ino said, with a questioning look on her eyes while trying to figure out how Hinata got so much stronger in just 6 months. I guess it must have been some special training, I guess. Ayato suggested. I guess you're right. Ino said. You seem okay telling me your jutsu style. You do realize I am from Konoha and you're from Sound, right? Ino asked. So, Ayato replied. And besides, I already know about Naruto's jutsus. Ayato said. The Rasengan that was originally created by the 4th Hokage, his father, Minato Namikaze, and also was taught down to his mentor Jiraiya. I also believe he has another jutsu called Multi-Shadow Clone Jutsu, which allows him to create solid clones. Ayato explained, which confused Ino a lot, questioning how Ayato knew about Naruto's moves. And if you're wondering how I know this, simple. Kajiyaki told me about his fight against Naruto. Ayato explained. I guess you are really well informed. Ino said. Ayato nodded. But I have a question for you. Ayato informed. Why does this village hate him so much? There's a lot of negative responses from the villagers. Ayato asked. Have you ever heard of the nine-tailed fox? In reply, Ayato nodded. About 13 years ago, the nine-tailed fox attacked Konoha out of the blue, and almost destroyed the entire Leaf Village. Many lives were lost that day, including the lives of both the 4th Hokage and his wife. Ino explained. I see. Ayato said, understanding where Ino's conversation was going. So, in other words, this Naruto has been blamed for those deaths. And the near destruction of Konoha itself. Ayato said. Ino nodded. Yes, and when he tried to leave it only fueled the hatred against him. But I can't say I blame him. To be honest, it's more of our fault than his, me, Shikamaru, Choji, Sasuke, Hinata, Shino, Kiba, Akamaru, Lee, Neji, Tenten, and Sakura, we all have hurt him, neglected him and broke him. To be honest, if we were better to him then he wouldn't have attempted to leave in the first place. Ino explained. Sounds like you feel guilty. Ayato said, pointing out the guilty tone Ino had in her voice. I am. Ino explained. And are you staring at my hair? Ino asked, after she had started to notice Ayato's eyes more concentrating on her hair than anywhere else on her head. Well, it's just that you're a pretty blonde and we don't have many like you in sound at all. Ayato said, which made Ino blush lightly from his comment. Location: infirmary. Hinata was lying on a stretcher in the infirmary, injured, hurt, broken, but not destroyed. Shizune along with a few other medic shinobi from Konoha were healing her with the best medical equipment. Of course, that didn't mean she didn't have any visitors. Neji, Lee, Tenten, Naruto, Sakura, and Sasuke were all standing there watching her breath heavily at the injuries. But slowly by slowly, her injuries were fading away. She fought really well, Shizune said. That she did, Neji said quietly. Location: snacking bar. Choji, you do realize you are a shinobi, now right? Shikamaru said, as he walked along the hallway where next to him was his best friend Choji Akamichi, who was eating one of the 10 bags of chips he had in his arms. Yeah, but what does that have to do with anything? Choji asked. Never mind, Shikamaru replied. Hey, Shikamaru said, as he pointed his finger and arm towards a certain direction. Isn't Ino and that other guy? Shikamaru said. I think his name was Ayato. Choji said. There they could see Ino and Ayato sitting on stools by a snack bar, talking to each other and laughing. It'd seem as though they were on some sort of a date to them. First Sasuke, now this. Shikamaru said in confusion. Guess Ino had moved on from him. Shikamaru said. Yeah, I guess she did. Choji said. So, who's this supposed to be? Shikamaru asked, with a smile, how entertaining it was to see Ino with another man. Both Ino and Ayato turned around to face Shikamaru and Choji who were walking towards them. I guess these two are your teammates, huh? Ayato asked. Yeah. Ino replied nervously. What are you guys doing here? Ino gave a slightly annoyed expression when seeing Shikamaru's smile. Well, you see, Choji got a little hungry and so he came here. He brought me along because he was short on cash to pay for any of the food here. Shikamaru explained, keeping his smile up. If you ask me, maybe he could lose a few poo. Slap. Ayato could only say it as a friendly joke, before Ino slapped her hand on his mouth, covering it so he couldn't finish that sentence. When Ayato looked at Ino with a confused eye, she had a face of fear written all over it while looking at Choji. Shikamaru too shared the similar face when looking at Choji, who looked shocked to hear something like that. What was he going to say? Choji asked with a hint of anger in his choice. Oh him. He was going to tell you how you should maybe lose the scarf. It does look hot, Choji, when wearing it. Shikamaru replied, while giving a nervous chuckle to make sure Choji wouldn't get mad. Oh, okay. Choji said simply, his attitude returning to a happy one along with eating his chips again. Ino came to Ayato's ear and whispered, do not use any word whatsoever about Choji and his weight in front of him. The last person who did Asuma-sensei had to pay for the damages done to the entire restaurant. He gets mad about his weight. Okay, I guess. Ayato said. Though you do need to lose the scarf, it looks warm in that. Ayato agreed with Shikamaru's comment. Yeah, you two are probably right, I've been thinking of an outfit change for a while now. Choji said. Anyway, I guess we should tell the two of you that in a few minutes the next round will start. Shikamaru informed. I believe that fight is between Neji and Saraisu. Shikamaru said. You're from Sound, right? Shikamaru said, as he looked at Ayato. Piece of advice for your friend, Neji was the rookie of the year last year and is really strong. Shikamaru said. I guess I'll take that advice to Saraisu then. Ayato said. See you later, Ayato said, as he started to walk away, then turned his head back around and smiled. Ino-chan, Ayato said, before he walked away again. Did he call me, Ino-chan? Ino thought to herself while blushing madly from Ayato's comment about her. With Konoha's team, where's Sasuke? Shikamaru asked, as he, Ino, and Choji all approached the others with the exception of both Sasuke and Hinata. He is still in the infirmary, he's waiting for Hinata. Naruto replied. Neji is already at the gate waiting for his match. Naruto explained. I see, Shikamaru said, as he leaned onto a rail looking at the arena. With the cages, the Otokage could hear the sounds of curtains moving. He looked behind his seat to see Tsunade herself come from behind and couldn't help but asked, Ah, Tsunade-sama. We have been waiting for you. While as Otokage it's not necessarily my business with the leaf, but might I ask what you were called for? Tsunade looked at the Otokage, carefully thinking of her answer the right way and how she could say it. Tsunade breathed in and looked at the Otokage and replied, I was a misunderstanding, a false alarm on Konoha's behalf. It'd seem like none of my shinobi got the memo of, not to bring your car to work, day when it crossed the village and triggered the sensors. But the village is 100% safe, I guarantee. Behind Tsunade, Yugao was standing behind the curtains with the other Anbu guards who also watched the exams. Yugao couldn't help but think, this was a big mistake, Kakashi. We shouldn't even allow the Chunin exams to continue now that our enemies have the upper hand by being behind our defense. As much as Yugao had complained, there was no other choice. For the matter of fact, by the end of the day Kakashi was right in using their element of surprise against them. Really? The Otokage said. I am unfortunate to inform you that you've missed the match between the Hyuga and Cage. It was a spectacular match with the Hyuga winning barely with terrible injuries. The Otokage explained. Sounds like I've missed a good match then. Tsunade said, following the Otokage's conversation to neglect any suspicions from his side. Indeed, you did. The Otokage agreed. Allow the match between Neji and Saraisu to begin. Tsunade announced. In the arena, Neji and Saraisu walked towards the center of the now fully repaired arena, while Anko herself was at the center as well, waiting for the two boys to meet one another. You know the rules, Anko said. Neji and Saraisu nodded. Good, then happy fighting, Anko said, as she left towards the entrance. Byakugan, Neji yelled, as he then turned his bloodline on, while doing the famous Hyuga fighting stance to prepare for his enemy. So far, I have seen the capabilities of what the other sound genins can do. I'll go all out from this point onwards, Neji declared, looking at Saraisu with a very serious and fighting behavior. Really? Saraisu said. I might as well say I am appalled by Hana's and Cage's behavior. Those two always were overconfident with their strengths and underestimated their opponents too much. But I never thought Kageyaki would lose to anyone, especially if he's the second strongest among us. Saraisu said. Second strongest? Who is the most powerful among your group? Neji asked. I'll let you in on a little secret. Ayato is our strongest genin among the 12 rookies of sound. Saraisu replied. 12? Neji said out of surprise. Enough talk, Neji said. FWWWWRRRRRRRRRRPPPPPPPP. Neji's eyes grew shocked as Saraisu zoomed past the Hyuga prodigy. His eyes widened in complete shock and fear. As Neji moved his eyes to the right corners of his face, he slowly turned his head to see Saraisu slowly walking meters behind him, holding his chakra rod while settling his device back onto his waist. With just these words Saraisu said, the fight is now over. Slash. Neji's entire body was covered in scratches and cuts by the wind, his bloodline shut down while slowly he fell down to the ground. Once Neji's lifeless body fell, Saraisu stopped in his tracks lightly and looked back. Neji. Tenten from a distance along with Lee yelled their teammate's name out. Anko immediately rushed to Neji while checking for a pulse, and thought He's still alive, Barley. How is he? Saraisu asked, not an emotion in his eyes when he looked directly at Anko. He's alive, but barely. Anko said, knowing that Saraisu didn't care a thing about Neji's condition. Interesting. That attack wasn't exactly meant to leave him alive, but it was to kill him. Even though I highly doubt he's much now, the winner is obviously decided. Saraisu said. As much as Anko hated to admit it, but Saraisu was right, she stood up, then pointed her arm towards Saraisu, and announced, winner of the match, Saraisu. And can we have someone tend to his injuries? Anko called out. This was just the beginning, the real secret will unfold in the next episode. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And hit the bell icon so you'll be the first to see what happens next. See you again in the next journey of Uzumaki Empire 2.0.